Hello everyone, my name is Roya, and I am here to talk to you about one of my favorite authors, Jennifer Fallon. I read most of her books last year, and the only ones I have not yet read is the Tide Lords Quartet. Partly that's because my library only has the fourth one randomly, so until I get those, I cannot read that series, obviously. So a lot of people have been asking me in the comments of my videos and everything what book I should start with for Jennifer Fallon and for Mercedes Lackey, so I decided to make a video for each one explaining all of the books and which ones are the best to start with, etc., etc. So anyway, this one is about Jennifer Fallon. There will be another one about Mercedes Lackey. Here we go. Jennifer Fallon is best known for her Chronicles, the first trilogy of which is the Demon Child trilogy consisting of Medallion, Treason Keep, and Harshini. So obviously this is the first trilogy of hers that I ever read. I personally thought that Medallion was probably the worst of her books, in my opinion. Not quite, actually. But in this series, it is not the best one, just because it is a little bit drier and a little bit like, okay, and not as much stuff gets introduced in this one. It's more the second and third ones where we get a lot more characters and just a lot more of the world and everything, and that's where the plot really starts to develop. So if you read the first one, so definitely my recommendation for a starting point would be this one. However, if you read this book and you kind of think it's just okay or just good-ish, definitely still continue on to the second one, because I promise you it is A+ book. Like, it is so much better. The second trilogy of hers in the Chronicles is the Wolfe Blade trilogy, and oddly enough this is a prequel. So this follows the mother of one of the main characters, and it takes place a good long time before the Demon Child trilogy does, and so you could technically read them in either order. So you could actually start with this series rather than the Demon Child trilogy. However, my personal recommendation would be reading them in publication order and reading this one second, just because you catch things from the first one in this one, so it's still really, really fun if you have read the Demon Child trilogy already when you pick this one up. And the third and so far final trilogy in the Chronicles is whatever this one is called. I legitimately don't know. I don't remember what this series is called. It does have a series title. It's like something of the gods. I don't know. But it comes after the Demon Child trilogy and the Wolfe Blade trilogy. It is actually what takes place 10 years after the end of the Demon Child trilogy. And so far, this is the only book that is out of this trilogy, and what is really odd is that the second one, supposedly, according to Goodreads and everybody and their mothers, came out last March. And the third one, supposedly, according to Goodreads and everyone and their mothers, came out this March. But if you go to literally any website, whether it's Book Depository or Amazon or anywhere at all, it just says out of stock or not out yet or whatever. So even though Goodreads says that the rest of this trilogy is out, I can't find it anywhere. And neither, it appears, can really anybody. So if you live in Australia or New Zealand and you find the rest of this trilogy, please look go to a store, see if it's there, take a photo, because I would really love to know if it's at least out in those places. I have no idea, and then I can just do a book trade or something with somebody in Australia or New Zealand. I don't know. And there is one more trilogy of hers that I have also read, and that is the Second Sons trilogy, consisting of Line of Senate, Isle of the Labyrinth, and Lord of the Shadows. And this is a totally unconnected trilogy. It has nothing to do with the Chronicles. It takes place in a completely different world, and it is a very interesting story in a lot of ways, but I don't think it's as good, so I would not really recommend starting with this one. I really was not that much of a fan of the first one at all, but I continued because I owned the whole series already, so I read the second one and third one, and I really liked them a lot. So I think that the first one, though, was so generic to me that I was not really a fan, and I kind of thought it was just okay. So I was actually very surprised to see that this was written after the Demon Child trilogy, because I definitely would have expected that this would have been the first one or something like that. But in the latter two books of this series, it does pick up quite a bit, and it turns out to be a really good series. But I definitely do not find it to be on par with the Hythrin Chronicles. It is just not as memorable and not quite as interesting, but it does have the same amount of political intrigue, and it is very, very cool. So if you do end up wanting to read this, like I would still recommend it. It's not a bad series. I just don't think it's as good as her other books. There you have it, folks. If you have read Jennifer Fallon and everything, you should totally let me know what your thoughts are, and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye!